Hey, Executive Alsobrooks, how are
Oh,
you?
hello. I am doing wonderful here. And as you put it, the great state of Maryland. Yes, indeed. I'm
Yes,
doing
yes,
great.
yes. And you are my county executive. So, I just love all this Black power we have going on in Prince George's County and in Maryland with Governor Westmore.
And Prince George's is, let's just go ahead and say it, the crown jewel of
Yes.
Maryland. So it is exciting to be here. So thank you so much for the interview.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for agreeing to it. And you had some really big news recently on your campaign, scoring much coveted endorsements from the one and only Senator Cory Booker and the only Black woman serving in the Senate right now, Senator LaFonza Butler from California. When you add that to Senator Reverend Warnock's endorsement, you have the backing of the entire Black delegation from the U.S. Senate. What do you think that signifies, that vote of confidence from not just them, but other senators as well, as opposed to Congressman Trump? Respectfully, he doesn't have any Senate endorsements. What do you think that signifies getting that vote of confidence from your future colleagues?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I am so grateful and I was so excited. I had such a wonderful time with the endorsement the other day with Senator Cory Booker and Senator LaFonza Butler. These are two very, very intelligent and accomplished individuals who are currently serving as United States senators who know what it takes to be a good senator, who have chosen me as a person that they would like to see as their colleague. And they have done that based on my record.
Right.
They know that I have served both as state's attorney and as county executive, and they know the experience that I have of delivering every day for my constituents. But they know also, I think what's important, Reecie, is a lived experience. The thing that
Right.
we all recognize is that it is important to have the professional experiences, but it is also important to know, understand, and to really be able to share the cares and concerns of the people you represent. That is important. To have all of us look in that Senate, to see ourselves in it, to see your lived experience, to see the cares and concerns that you and your family members have, that's really important to making sure that we have complete policies that come out of that Senate. But to have these two rock stars,
Yeah.
Senator Butler, who's worked with Emily's List and who has been working through her career to empower women running for office, to have seen in me a person who she could support, and of course, Senator Booker, who is respected all across the country, who is a voice, I think, he's a powerful voice, a voice that's pushed justice and who's been accomplished. It's just really an honor. And as you mentioned, and they join also Senator Van Hollen, Senator Gillibrand. So all total, there are 5 senators right now in the Senate of the United States who are supporting me and who believe that I would make a great colleague. And that is a big deal and it's an honor.
Indeed, it is. And I am huge fans of both of them. You mentioned Emily's List. Senator LaFonza Butler was head of Emily's List, which endorsed you very early on in your candidacy. And you have over 100 endorsements from electeds and a number of people. So obviously, people have looked at your record and they're saying they want to go with you. But you mentioned live experiences and the importance of that in terms of what that brings to Congress or to the Senate in this case. Senator LaFonza Butler is not running for a full term, and so with her absence, there could potentially be no Black women in the Senate once again. Your candidate colleagues, Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester is running in Delaware, and Congresswoman Lee is running in California. But I still believe that this is an incredibly important seat in Maryland. I'm tired of having 2 white men represent us. And I think we've only had one woman senator for a period of time represent us. And so I think it's really important that we have that representation. But it's
It's
not
an
just,
understatement.
yeah,
Reecie, it's an understatement. Let's just put the numbers out there.
okay, let's do
The
it.
numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
2003 United States senators, 2 of them have been Black women.
Mm-mm.
That's just, it's unconscionable. We have had the Senate for 200 and I think it's 34 years.
Yeah.
And out of that, Black women have served for a grand total of 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's something incomplete and wrong about that. And again, all of us should be able to look in that body, Black, white, man, woman, of every religion and every socioeconomic level, and see yourselves. And Black women have not been able to do so.
Right.
And it does create, there's a whole voice missing. There's a
Mm-hmm.
whole lived experience missing. I don't pretend to have the lived experience of everyone.
Right.
There are lived experiences that ought to be respected, and a Black woman's experience is a unique one. And by the way, I know now because I was the first state's attorney here, a first elected prosecutor and first county executive. It does matter that we are there because the way we approach problems is completely different. It is important that we have that completion by having us there. And, one of the things that Senator Butler said that was so powerful in her experience so far, she says that even she imagined how important it was just to have your mere presence in the room.
Yeah.
And now she knows as a matter of fact that it is true. She told an example about a hearing where she was present. Some women in the Coast Guard who were victims of sexual assault were coming before a committee in the U.S. Senate, and guess who was there? All men. And so to have a person on the other side of that, who can be not only a person whose experience mirrors yours and who understands you, but her presence changes the way the questions come out,
right,
the way the discussions happen, all of that. So this is essential. And you know what? And it's good for our country.
Yes.
It's not just good for Black women. Let's just be clear about this. It's good for our country for this to happen.
Period.
Yes.
Where we are in the spaces we're in, there's more equality, there's more compassion, more empathy, because we don't just think about our own communities in the silo. We realize that what affects Black people, what affects Black women, affects the entire country. And so there is a void. And even if you have all three of you win your seats, that's still 3% of the U.S. Senate. That ain't enough. So I just want to emphasize that. I don't want people to get complacent and say, well, we can have one over here. And no. We need all of you to win. But it's not about just the cosmetics of it, right? Because we know skin folk and kin folk. I'm not saying any names, but you bring credentials to the Senate. Talk about the actual credentials that you bring to the U.S. Senate.
So thank you. Yeah, 27 years worth of credentials, started as a domestic violence prosecutor and loved it, defending women and children and families, and discovered during the 13 years that I sat in the courtroom something really important. It's all of these people who are inside our systems looking for second chances, who have never gotten a first chance. The people for whom addictions care and mental health care was never provided. What happens when you didn't have affordable and safe housing? What's the effect of not having true economic opportunities in communities? I know as firsthand what that means because I sat in those courtrooms and in the courthouse for 13 years to watch it and decided that I was going to go from there to really make the kinds of investments as county executive that would allow those first chances. So I have broken ground on 10 new schools in just the last 3 years here using an innovative structure, opened 6 of them last year. We're breaking ground on another 8 this year. I sat and watched us really misdiagnose what I saw as a public health crisis, meaning that 70% of the people we were arresting in the system were intoxicated when they arrived. When we took them to the local departments of correction, I saw that 1/3 of the people we were arresting were on psychotropic medications. So I built the first of its kind mental health and addictions care facility in our county in 2022. And I have created economic opportunity in our county in places that never had it before, where we have food deserts. Growing jobs and income was really instrumental in helping to fight, along with Congressman Hoyer, who has endorsed me, to bring the FBI headquarters back to our county. So what I say that to say is the issues and cares and concerns of everyday people, I get it, but I have not only passed policies to address those things, but I understand the practical impact of the policies that we pass on people. You have to have that. So executive level experience, which I have had very successfully, allows me to come closer to the people. They say those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solutions. And so I have that as well as having been a mother. I'm a mother, I'm the daughter of aging parents. And let me just say about Maryland, we have a 10-person delegation that is very talented, and all 10 of them are men. We don't have any women in our federal delegations there are no mothers. How in our delegation, there are no women who can bring that experience. It's important to our policies. And again, it's good for Maryland to have a diverse and complex delegation.
Absolutely. I didn't realize not one woman in the whole state federal delegation.
Nope.
That is
tell you, all
unconscious.
10. It is. All 10 are men. And we, and so this is the moment where we look out and say, again, this is not just good for women, it's good for Marylanders to have a delegation that is reflective of the people of Maryland is important.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes, when we look at, a blue state, right? Or a state where generally the person who wins the primary wins the general election, people kind of check out a little bit into the primary process. And then when they look at the general election person, they're like, oh, well, I'm not really feeling this person. Well, because you didn't vote in the
Right.
primary. Hello, that's where you get to have the most influence. And these kinds of factors really should be something that people are paying attention to and taking affirmative action into going and fixing, because that's a problem that needs to be fixed. Point blank in the period. That's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable, and elections have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
For
Mm-hmm.
anybody who tunes out, you look up and we keep asking the question, well, why isn't it that, so what we know about politics is, let me say this, whoever has the power decides where the resources go.
Right.
It's that simple. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to have people there who understand the people on the ground.
I usually want to ask, about receipts, because the rhetoric is cool and all that good stuff, but I want to hear about receipts. But you just gave me a CVS list long of receipts. You already have it. Okay. Now let's go back to the topic of turnout. I've looked at the statistics in the gubernatorial primary. Now, that's different. It's midterms. And it was about 30% turnout for the Democrats. Out of 2.2 million voters, it was about 688,000 people who turned out to vote. And I'm going to assume generally primaries have about 30% turnout. What do you see as your path to getting the votes you need to prevail in the primary?
Well, we are campaigning all across the state. We are working to earn the votes of Marylanders in every county and in the city of Baltimore, working hard. We have a new field office we just opened in Baltimore. It was a very exciting and just really well-received opening. We did the same in Montgomery. We're here in Prince George's. We're fanning out to the Eastern Shore and going all across the state. Now, it still remains the case that Prince George's County is a place where the vote is critical.
Right.
Prince George's County, if we're honest about it, delivered the vote to the last governor. This is where we saw one of the largest shares of Democratic votes in the state are in Prince George's County. So we need to really perform well in Prince George's. The same is true for Montgomery County, where we are working really, really hard and expect to do really well. We have so much support there. Everybody from Senator Van Hollen to the current county executive and so many also leaders on the ground who are supporting Baltimore. We're spending a lot of time and energy also in Baltimore, which Baltimore City is our largest city and is critical to the health and welfare of the state. So we're there as well. And we're just going all around and really vote by vote is how we will get to our number, making our message. And when people hear the message, when they hear the message and when they meet me, and when they hear the vision, we're finding that people are excited and they are supporting. They want a person in the Senate who can understand them and who also has a record of getting stuff done. Let me just make that clear.
Right.
What we
Right.
do not need are people who invest in gridlock. We need people who can get things done.
Absolutely. And I was going to ask you about the excitement part, because I'm in this media space and the politics space, and I just see a lot of apathy towards the 2024 election, despite the fact that the stakes are so high. So are you seeing something different in these conversations that you're having? Are you able to bring those that are disillusioned and disaffected kind of into the fold? Or are you kind of seeing more so the enthusiasm around those who always vote?
Oh, so your point is interesting. It's a good point. I don't know that I haven't seen apathy.
Okay,
Now,
good.
apathy to people who don't care.
Mhm.
People are concerned. They're
Mm.
worried. Some of them are distrustful. They don't really know whether the system still works for them or not. That's the reason we have to lean in and convince those people more than ever that you can trust, that you have a leader who hears you, who understands you, and who has, I'm not just talking like you say receipts. I love the word receipts, because if they go check my receipts, then they will be convinced that I don't sit around and just talk theoretically about what I think about people who are suffering. I have spent my entire career working to make sure that people have the chance to succeed in our country, that they
Mhm.
have the safe communities and the other things they need. But it's not apathy. It's they do care. It's just that some of them are so broken and disillusioned and just, and discouraged. People are hurting. That's the reason the messages about economic opportunity are important.
Right.
That I'm going to be fighting hard, batting so hard, every single dollar we can bring back for
Mhm.
transportation and other things to grow our economy, to bring those jobs home and to create the kind of income that make people able to afford the cost of living. For all of those things are things that I am going to be fighting hard for. And once they know it, I'm convinced that they will come out in support.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And because I've looked at some of the polling and I'm like, now there ain't no way if these people knew what your record was and they knew where you stood on the issues that they would be in this camp versus that camp. And so that's why it's
Well,
so
let's talk
important.
about that. Lord, let's talk about that. So
Yeah.
$30 million later,
Yes.
we have a person who's tried to buy the race.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Marylanders are smart.
Mm-hmm.
We can't be bought. So all of the, the airwaves have been bought up, the mailboxes have been bought up. But the thing we know is that my support remains really strong. Even in that poll, I haven't lost an inch in the poll.
Exactly.
And when people begin to hear more from me, which they will soon, because our commercials are coming up, we're going to have radio spots as well. The moment they will, we'll close the gap and we're going to win this race. Because ours is a message that resonates with the people, as well as my record. My record is clear.
Mm-hmm.
I have done the work of representing our communities with joy. And guess what? I can't wait to represent more Marylanders.
Right.
And I think they're going to feel that.
Absolutely. I mean, David Trone, Congressman Trone has spent just in the last quarter of last year, he spent $13 million of his own money. So he has a unlimited piggy bank to, like you said, buy the race. But we've seen where that hasn't moved the needle. Rick Caruso blew through $100 million to try to beat Mayor Karen Bass, and it's still Mayor Karen Bass right now because Black women have that electability and that electoral power that is often underrated in the polls and in the fundraising. But I want people to know how they can support your candidacy because this is a national audience and who is in the Senate from any state affects us all. And it's especially important to make sure that we have more Black women representation because there's some states that ain't never gonna have a Black woman senator, but it's Black women in those states that need to be represented and Black men as well. So how can people contribute to your campaign if they heard something that they like? How can they get involved?
Thank you so much, Reecie, for all of that. You're right. 1 of 100, let me just be really clear, is a very powerful place to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not only going to represent Marylanders, we represent families and people all across the country. On that floor, your voice matters. So when I'm there speaking on behalf of voting rights, when I'm there speaking on behalf of a woman's right to choose what to do with her own body for abortion care access, when I'm talking about the opportunity and talking about the lives of our kids, I am speaking for all of us. And that is something that is so needed. So at AngelaAlsobrooks.com, you can go to my website and you will find there ways to support. Please do support us. As we say, we need Lottie Dottie and everybody. These races, let me just be clear, do not come around every day.
Right.
And I
So
can tell you right now, as I am fighting the race, I see so much the challenges of it, and we are positioned to win.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who can contribute, whether you can contribute financially, and we hope they do again, because we have on the other side of us a person who said he's going to spend 50 million or whatever it takes to get the seat. And so, but the $10, $15, $20, whatever people can toss in makes a difference. People who can make phone calls, you can make phone calls on behalf of this campaign from Nebraska.
Right.
So if you want to if you can help us make phone calls, sign up, because we need everybody's hands on deck. And they join a good chorus of people, from our governor, who has endorsed me right away. So as you've mentioned, Senator Warnock, Senator Cory Booker, Senator LaFonza Butler, Senator Van Hollen and Gillibrand, as well as our entire, let me just say this, our entire federal delegation, except one, are supporting me.
Mm-hmm.
All of the people who would know, they're all supporting. So, but we need everybody's support. We need people to spread the word, talk about this campaign, put it in the light and let people know we have this opportunity to break out of this history. 2003 and only 2 elected Black women. We can do better than that. We really can. This is our moment.
We can and we shall, because at the end of the day, this is a winnable race. It's a competitive race. This isn't a long shot. And there's been plenty of races that were long shot that people dump money into, Beto, multiple times. This is something that we really need to put our money where our mouth is. If you're about hashtag protect Black women, if you talk about, oh, thank you, Black women, for saving democracy, don't just thank Black women. Put your money behind Black women in leadership positions. That's where the rubber really hits the road. And as our dearly, dearly departed Joe Madison said, what are you going to do about it? You know, when we have these disparities, when we have these attacks on Black citizenship, on Black history, what are you going to do about it? And one of those ways that we can start to fix that and repair that is by putting more Black women like County Executive Angela Alsobrooks in the Senate. So thank you so much, Executive, for your time.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all of your listeners for tuning in. This race is not about me, it's about us. Every one of us who wants to feel our country is as good as it's promised. This is about us. So thank you so much, Reecie, for this. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
We're proud of you. We're Prince George is proud of you.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're also one of us. So thank you so much. All right. And everybody take care now.
You take care.